Alright. So the radius is already done, so I'm just going to adjust the face. So we'll grab our diamond tool here. Alright, we'll bring her in. Give it justice so you get a better view. Actually, I like to turn this about 30 degrees every time. Lock that down. We got to keep that diamond sharp. Diamonds are forever, right? So I'm going to just bring this up until it just touches. Just turn it by hand here. Right there. Alright, so we'll get rid of our Arnold gauge for now. Alright, coolant is the key here. So I have to keep this diamond cool. So believe it or not, even though this wheel is about what 3/4 wide, that diamond will grow when I get to the end, and that can give me a bad finish and or tape. So this is very, very critical here that we keep this diamond flooded during this process. So we'll fire up the wheel here. Alright, we'll turn our coolant on. Make sure it's nice and straight like that. We'll walk across. Walk across the other way. Alright, I'll give her a couple thou here. I'll walk across again. And that's it. The wheel is dressed. We're using a Storm Vulcan 15AW. One of the last American built crank grinders. They're all Italian or Dutch now. Pretty much. So next thing is we got to adjust our stroke. So my big block Chevy is a 4-inch stroke, 454. So I've got a little stroke gauge here. So we're going to go ahead and loosen this guy up. Grab my all right. We'll loosen this up here. The gibs, as we call them, because we got to offset this for this stroke. So I'm going to run this guy up. And if I can't see it, there's a gauge up here. We'll put that right at, all right, so that's right at 4-inch. All right, or so we think. We'll lock this down here just a little bit. We'll come over here, do the same thing on the tailstock. Loosen that. Yeah. All right, and up we go, 4 inches. Now normally you go half. Some machines, technically you're going half the stroke. So technically we're moving these chucks 2 inches off, or 2 inches up, because 4-inch stroke. But on a Storm Vulcan, it's a direct reading. So when I go on this scale, I set this to the stroke of the crankshaft. So it's all built into the machine. But technically, that's what you're doing. We're getting close here. All right, so I'm right at 4-inch on my gauge. Now we're going to find that a lot of crankshafts, even from the factory, are not very good. So even though our machine, compared to our machine, so there's multiple reasons for that. Number one, could have been machined before. Number two, in a production situation, they're just blasting this stuff out. So all right, we'll grab our crank here. I always put the headstock here. Got this pin here I want to try to avoid in the tailstock. We're going to loosen it up just a shade. Oops. All right, so we're not too bad there. So a couple things. I don't want to be all the way up into this snout here. So I'm about an inch in. That's really, really good. The farther I'm in here, can throw it off. So you would think you'd want to bury that as much as you can. No, that's not the case. So I want to give myself a little breathing room here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock down my tailstock assembly to the machine. So that's locked, and now we'll bring this up a little tighter. All right, and then we'll lock this baby down. All right, so in theory that should be locked. Now before we do anything, we're going to switch this. We're going to loosen these gibs here, or I shouldn't say gibs, but indexing, and I'm going to make a guess here. First journal I want to turn is going to be this one here. Okay, I want to start with the bad one, so we'll just kind of eyeball this. So basically I got this one at the 12 o'clock position, this one to 6, so this is the one that's going to be set to grind. Tighten up my units there. Now, the next thing I need to do is I got to offset this, okay, with a counterweight. So with these chucks elevated up, we now have a huge imbalance. If I let go of these locks, this thing's going to rotate 180 degrees. It's going to want to stay there. So these machines have counterweights built into them. So we're going to bring the counterweights down, all right? This is a guessing game till we get it balanced. We always turn the rods first because that's going to relieve some stresses as well after we straightened it. And that should be pretty good. All right. So usually on these, about to my 7.5 mark. Should be really close. All right, let's see where we're at here. Oops. All right, I'm going to loosen these pins here, the tailstock and the headstock, and let's see how this works. Yeah. So that's pretty good. So this is running this here. That's pretty good. See how that's pretty solid. pretty even. See, it's not going one way or the other. So I've got that pretty centered. So not bad. All right. So next thing we need to do is we got to index this thing in. All right. So we got our counterweight kind of done. So let's bring our dial in here. We're going to go off of this bad guy here. I'll preload this in just a little. I'm going to adjust the camera. I'll preload this. Let's see where we're at here. See, not even close. Alright, so we got to come more in. Trying to get the index in first before we deal with the stroke. Alright, so let's do this. Let's zero this guy. There's 50, 100, 150, so about 200. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to split the difference here. So we're going to come in 100 thousandths. That should be really close. As I tighten it up, see it drop 10. That's okay. Okay. Let's get index a little bit better. So we're going to zero it here. I'm within 20. So we zero this right there because I got these adjustment knobs right here. All right. All right, I'm gonna come in just a little bit more. All right, so not bad, right? Get her close again. What I did is I rotated the chucks to get more adjustment on my fine tuning. Cut about half. All right, so we're close enough now. Let's check the stroke. So right there, we'll zero it, right? Because my adjustment's on the other side of this. See, I'm off about 35 thousandths or so. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go half a 35. Okay, so 17-ish is one I want to move to. So I'm going to adjust these evenly. All right. About 10 too much there. That's okay. So we'll back this off. See? We'll back it off. See, now we're really getting dialed in here. See, so stroke zero. All right, I'll put the zero here for the index, half of what I just did. All right, now remember this was a couple thousandths out of round, I think. All right, so the next step we're going to do is I'm going to final tighten my gibs here because I'm close. All right. Let's double check our mic here too. So now that we're close, let's see how off our journal is. About 2 under there. All right. All right, so set the 0 there. Boy, that's pretty close. Let's check the stroke here. Got to come up just a little bit. See, about 9 thousandths there. So we'll go about 4.5, right? Bring that in just a little itty bitty bit. We'll have to re-index. Oh shit, I think we're pretty good. So I'm rotating this guy. I'd say you're about dead nuts on the stroke there with a little wear. Let's check the index here. Whew. That's pretty good within 1. So what I'm going to do to try to save this is sometimes I can go across the crank and kind of split the difference. I know some of the Burco machines a little bit easier to do that. This Storm, this is just what I normally do. So I'm going to go ahead and this journal's ready to grind. So let's bring the machine over here. All right, brought the wheel in. And we're going to start with the bad spot. All right. So what I did is I just ran this wheel up. I brought the wheel in just so it hit. All right. So next thing we'll do is we'll bring the steady rest in. Now we can't really use that yet. Because we know this is out of round. Because like I say, the steady rest is just to keep something round. We know this is not round. But we'll get him close. Another trick we can do too, we could cheat on the stroke. But I'm going to wait and see how this goes. Just a little bit. Put some sponge in here so we don't get soaked. Adjust this so you can see a little bit better. Okay, next step we're going to do is we're going to adjust our Arnold gauge here. So this is a 2-inch 200 pin. We'll loosen this guy up. Put it around 2-inch 200 here. All right. So make sure my gauge is not buried, and I got more to go. So let's go ahead and set our coolant up here, and I'm going to go ahead and spin the crank. right, we'll set this to about 8 to go. Well, I can't do that because this thing's whooped. So I'll just put this right here for now. Alright, so let's fire up our wheel. Just our coolant, which actually looks really good. We want to be in between the work and the wheel. And let's come on in and hit this baby. Come over and hit the radius. I'm going to move the crank this way, just so I hit the radius. Right there. That's the radius. Alright, let's come on a little more. Without steady rest, I go slow, because like I say, this crank could want to walk towards me. I'll start to bring in the steady rest in the good part. A little more. And what I'm doing, I'm just hitting the steady rest where the wear isn't. Want a little bit more. I'm going to move the steady rest over just a shade. I hate to be over the hole, but I have no choice, I think.